Here's what every video game should have. A photo mode. I know, it sounds silly at first, but please consider this. Sharing your video game experiences has become an integral part of gaming culture. We live in a time where the share button is just a normal part of a controller. So why doesn't every game let me compose my photos exactly how I want, before sharing them? I love playing around with photo modes in games. It's like taking pictures on your holidays. You see so many awesome things in games, so it's only natural that we as human beings want to save these impressions in perfectly composed photos. Or you can use the photo mode to get uncomfortably close to in-game characters and objects to count polygons and judge the textures on these sausages. You know, that's fun too. In my opinion, there are 3 important rules a photo mode must fulfill to be fun. Let's go through them. First rule. Sometimes it's better to limit a player's access to photo mode, for their own good. Now, this may sound contradictory to my opening statements, but let me explain what I mean. The basic rule of thumb is, the shorter and more narrative-driven a game is, the bigger the chance that an extensive photo mode can have negative effects on the overall experience with the game. Here's an example. Yes, the Naughty Dog photo mode is amazing. I love it. You'll hear me talk about it in rule number 2. But I feel it shouldn't be unlocked from the get-go. Yeah, it's awesome that I can lose myself in the countless photo mode options and change Chloe's facial expression in an intense gunfight, but this can diminish the epicness of an important moment on your first playthrough. The narrative experience in these games is comparable to more linear mediums like books or movies.
I can't believe I'm actually looking at it.
Should take a picture. Send it to your dad.
Great idea.
To really get immersed in the story, you have to continuously read a book or watch a movie for a certain amount of time without interruptions. If you close the book after every page you've read or pause the movie every couple of minutes to do something else, you're not going to experience the full potential of the narrative. That's why I suggest that the photo mode, or certain parts of it, should be an unlockable feature after finishing a narrative-driven game for the first time. On your second playthrough, you've already experienced the game's story from start to finish, and you don't have to worry about potentially ruining your experience with constant photo mode interruptions. It should be handled like the gameplay modifiers and cheats in Naughty Dog's games that you can unlock after finishing the game for the first time. Open world games, on the other hand, are a perfect fit for photo mode from the get-go because open world game design is basically centered around distracting the player from the main storyline and making them explore the unknown at their own pace. So having a photo mode as an additional distraction only adds to the open world experience and helps the player to document their own individual journey along the way. Second rule, give me a lot of cool and surprising options. I think it's safe to say that Naughty Dog has almost perfected the photo mode in their games. They give you tons of possibilities to play around with. Adjust the camera angle and zoom, add some background blur, hide characters, change facial expressions, apply awesome filters, etc, etc. It feels intuitive, fast, and the results just look awesome. Horizon Zero Dawn also has an excellent photo mode with tons of extremely cool settings to play around with, and somehow manages to have an even better UI than Naughty Dog's mode. And you can even make Aloy follow the camera and strike different poses. Now, as much as I love Super Mario Odyssey and the fact that Nintendo actually cared to implement a photo mode in a Nintendo game, it's not very good. Sure, you have all the basic options you need, but everything just feels a bit off. The filters are especially poor and mostly lead to some very unsatisfying pictures. So, if you include stuff in your photo mode, better make sure it's good. But I did still manage to get some cool shots out of it. Third rule, give me freedom to frame my shots, but not too much freedom. If I had one critique of Naughty Dog's photo mode, it would be that I'm pretty limited by the camera movements. The camera is always centered around the playable character, no matter how much you move it to the side. The other extreme in terms of camera freedom is the Order 1886, where you can move the camera freely around the battlefield without any restrictions. Now, As great as that may be for framing my shots, it is very problematic from a game design point of view. The game basically gives the player the ability to freeze time and get an overview of the battlefield. It's an overpowered tactical advantage that could potentially render every enemy encounter in the game meaningless. It's basically cheating. A great compromise between the two extremes is Horizon Zero Dawn. It gives the player enough freedom to move the camera away from Aloy, but with reasonable restrictions so that it doesn't feel like cheating. Bonus rule: implement the photo mode into the core gameplay experience. Watch Dogs 2 does an amazing job in making the photo mode feel like an organic part of its world. The drone and RC car in Watch Dogs 2 are an integral part of its hacking mechanics and can be used to take some awesome in-game photos. Implementing the photo mode into gameplay makes it feel less like an attached mode, so it becomes less of a distraction and more like something you would normally do in the game. And there you have it, developers. Follow these rules and you have a perfect photo mode experience in your game that every video game should have. Even Tetris. I'm joking. Obviously not literally every video game should have it, but you get the idea. Do you agree? Are there any other games with great photo modes that I missed? What do you love or hate about photo modes? Do you even care? Let me know in the comments and drop a like and subscribe if you liked it. Oh, and by the way, you can see a collection of my best photo mode photos in the link in the description.